When a rock band in the 1970s tell you that love is the drug, you know that they know what they're talking about. Today I too am here to tell you that love is indeed like a drug. Specifically, cocaine. Neuroscientifically speaking, that is. Neuroscientists brought in people who were in love for a brain scan. And while they were in the machines, they were being shown the pictures of their beloveds. And the result? You could say that they were concerned, because they looked very similar to the brains that are high on cocaine. But how could that be? Love is possibly the most commended and desired thing in this world. And it having such similarities with cocaine, the world's most condemned and also desired thing? I guess the answer is in them both being very desirable. When you get high on cocaine, you feel fantastic. But that's not because the cocaine itself gives you those feelings. Inside our brains, as a part of our reward system, we have a pleasure center. And when it's turned on, that's when we get pleasure. What cocaine basically does is to lower the threshold at which this pleasure center fires, making it easier for us to get pleasure from it. Falling in love does the same. Love itself doesn't give you pleasure. Instead, it opens up the gates of the pleasure center, making it real easy for dopamine to come out and soak in our brains. So when you're in love or are high on cocaine, you become more enthusiastic about everything. Everything is something to be excited for because you would release these neurochemicals. And because everything gives you that excitement, you get a boost in self-esteem and become very optimistic. Hence, love is not a feeling, it's a motivation. And it's really all that you can wish for because just a good feeling keeps you content and dormant, but an endless flow of motivation? Now that will keep you in action. This is a good time to tell you that this is not a video suggesting that you try cocaine. It's very bad. I'm only here to talk about love. Have you ever walked down a path while being in love and felt ever more present? Suddenly the air and the trees inspire you and everything just wholesome. A small gesture or an act of kindness fills you up with gratitude and warmth. In neuroscience, that's called globalization. When the gates of the pleasure center are left open and the happy excitements are free to flow out, they don't really discriminate what they wash over. So when love infests your brain, you don't just fall in love with the beloved, you fall in love with the world. And with the intensity of emotions and the neurochemicals, our brains can easily rewire and change. For example, everyone has experience with how love has changed what they find attractive. Let's say that you have fallen in love, and over her beautiful face are these dark spots that's visible enough to make her feel insecure about it. But even a defect like that, your brain can start to consider it as attractive and exciting because you experienced so many good emotions in the presence of those dark spots. The emotions which will be renewed at the sight of them even on the face of another woman. Similarly, that's how a cocaine addict finds himself in the place that he took the drug for the first time, because he experienced pleasure by association, as you did from the dark spots. But of course, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Everything has a consequence. We heard of that with cocaine, but it's not much different with love. When the person we're in love with decides to leave us, we crash and experience withdrawal. We get cravings for that person. We get anxious, start to doubt ourselves, and even become depressed. Any small gesture from them, like a message or a call, can become an instant shot of energy. These addictive symptoms, both the high and the withdrawal, are the signs of changes that occur in our brains as they adapt to the presence or absence of these mind-altering states. And lastly, we also build tolerance for love as we do for other drugs. That's because dopamine is like a cat. It likes new furnitures, or new things in general. Otherwise, it won't bother. When we're in a relationship for long enough and things are starting to get old because there's nothing new about that person now, no surprises, or rather there isn't much novelty for our dopamines to get released, it is, not that they've become boring or worse, different people, but that our brains adapted so well to our partners that getting the same kind of dopamine buzz from them has become much more difficult. This obviously should not be the sign for us to leave them, partly because there are different kinds of love to begin with different neurochemicals tied to each. It's not just all dopamine, and you can check out my other videos on that. But more importantly, there are ways to overcome the tolerance your brain has built for your partner. And it's simply by injecting novelty into your relationship so that you can stimulate your pleasure center again and keep the high alive. You can do that with a romantic vacation or trying out new activities together. Or maybe try surprising them and, or talk with them about bringing in new responsibilities into your shared life. These novelties will activate the pleasure center like the early stage of love has, and therefore, globalization will begin again. Your brain will get more pleasure from everything you experience, including your partner, and it will form new associations for them who you were starting to think was becoming boring with these unexpected pleasures. And they will make the same kind of associations for you. And that, my friend, is how you stay together and rest in peace together. So yes, love is the drug. It really messes with things up in our brains. And all I want to say is be really, really careful before you get hooked on these mind-altering states.